You really should consider getting a job, Virginia. Even part-time would give you something meaningful to do. I smiled politely across the mahogany dining table as my mother-in-law Vera delivered her weekly criticism, perfectly timed between bites of her overcooked salmon. The Henderson family dinner ritual was as predictable as it was painful. My name is Virginia, and for 6 years I've been labelled as the lazy, stay-at-home wife who married into Boston's elite Henderson family. If only they knew. She's too busy watching reality TV and ordering takeout. Bradley, my brother-in-law, chuckled while swirling his wine. Right, Wade? My husband shifted uncomfortably in his chair, suddenly fascinated by his green beans. His silence spoke volumes, as usual. At least she dressed appropriately tonight. Taya, my sister-in-law, added with a smirk. Remember that awful sundress at the country club last month? I took a small sip of water, letting their words wash over me like rain on a window. They had no idea that the awful sundress cost more than their monthly mortgage payments. But grandmother always said, "Let them underestimate you. It's the perfect cover. The Henderson Group needs driven people," David, my father-in-law, pronounced from the head of the table. People who understand business, who have ambition. Speaking of which, Bradley, how's the Morgan acquisition coming along? As Bradley launched into his rehearsed speech about market penetration and synergy, my phone buzzed silently in my lap. A text from Kaya. "It's happening. They're hemorrhaging cash faster than we guessed." I allowed myself a small smile, remembering the day grandmother left me her empire. The trust fund, the business education, the connections, all with one condition. Never let them see you coming, dear. "Virginia, are you even listening?" Vera's sharp voice cut through my thoughts. Bradley was explaining something important about the business world. You might learn something. "Oh, I always learn so much at these dinners," I replied softly, watching Bradley preen. If he knew I'd already identified 3 fatal flaws in his acquisition strategy, he might choke on his wine. "Mother, perhaps we could discuss something else," Wade finally spoke up, though his eyes remained fixed on his plate. "Of course, darling," Vera cooed. "How's the new project going? The one you mentioned last week?" As Wade detailed his latest venture, I felt my phone buzz again. Another text from Kaya. "Their stock dropped 12% today. Time to move?" 6 years of dinners like this. 6 years of calculated humiliation. 6 years of watching them run their company into the ground while dismissing every subtle suggestion I made. But grandmother was right. Patience is a weapon when wielded correctly. "Virginia, dear." Vera's voice dripped with false concern. "You barely touched your food. Watching your figure again?" "Just savouring every moment," I replied, meeting her eyes with a gentle smile that didn't quite reach mine. "Well, you should eat more," Taya chimed in. "It's not like you burn any calories sitting at home all day." My phone buzzed a third time. Kaya again. "Board meeting leaked. They're desperate for investors. Perfect timing." "Actually," I said, standing up smoothly, "I should head home. I have an early morning tomorrow." "Oh?" Bradley smirked. "Finally found a hobby?" "Something like that," I replied, gathering my purse. "Wade, are you coming?" He nodded, making his excuses as we left. In the car, he was quiet until we hit the highway. "I'm sorry about them," he muttered. "They mean well." I thought about the empire I'd built in secret, the shell companies poised to strike, the years of careful planning about to bear fruit. "Don't worry about it," I said softly. "Everything happens for a reason." My phone lit up one last time. Kaya had sent a link to the Henderson Group's latest financial report. The numbers were worse than we'd anticipated. Much worse. "Want to watch something when we get home?" Wade asked, oblivious to the storm about to break. "Actually, I need to make a few calls," I said. "Business calls." He laughed, the same dismissive laugh I'd heard from his family countless times. "Business calls? You?" I smiled in the darkness of the car, thinking of grandmother's words on her deathbed. "They'll never see you as a threat until it's too late. That's your advantage, my dear. Use it." "Yes," I replied simply. "Business calls." The time for silence was ending. Soon they'd learn exactly who they'd been underestimating all these years. But for now, I had work to do. After all, hostile takeovers require perfect timing. The numbers don't lie, Kaya said, spreading financial documents across my home office desk. The Henderson Group is bleeding money from every division. I studied the internal memos Gianna had leaked to us. Red ink everywhere, desperate attempts to hide mounting losses. The company's foundation was crumbling beneath its gleaming facade. Look at this. I pointed to a particularly concerning figure. They've lost 30% of their major investors in the last quarter alone. And that's just what they're admitting to, Kaya replied, pulling up more documents on her laptop. The real numbers are worse. A knock at my office door made us both freeze. Virginia, Wade called out. Can I come in? I quickly gathered the papers while Kaya closed her laptop. Just a minute, I called back, stuffing everything into my desk drawer. Come in. Wade entered, looking uncomfortable in his usually pristine suit. His tie was loose and dark circles shadowed his eyes. Hey, I didn't know you had company. Just catching up with Kaya, I smiled. Girl talk. Right, he nodded, then hesitated. Listen, honey, I need to talk to you about something. Kaya took her cue. I should get going anyway. Thanks for the coffee, Virginia. She gathered her things, giving me a meaningful look as she left. Once we were alone, Wade perched on the edge of my desk. I've been thinking, maybe we should consider cutting some expenses. Oh? I kept my voice neutral, though my heart raced. The lake house, for example, we barely use it, and the maintenance costs are... Are you saying we can't afford it? I asked carefully. No, he backpedaled quickly. Just being practical. Times are challenging in the market right now. I remembered his father's words from 3 years ago, when I'd suggested diversifying their investments. The market is fine, Virginia. Leave business to those who understand it. Whatever you think is best, I said softly, playing my role perfectly. Wade relaxed visibly, patting my hand. Thanks for understanding. I need to head to the office. Bradley called an emergency meeting. After he left, I immediately called Gianna. It's worse than we thought, she whispered into the phone. Bradley's going crazy, screaming at everyone. They're trying to secure emergency funding, but nobody's biting. Keep your head down, I advised. Document everything, but don't draw attention. You should hear him right now, Gianna said, her voice dropping even lower. He's in his office yelling at someone. Wait. I heard a door slam through the phone, followed by Bradley's voice in the background. If we don't get new money in by next quarter, it's over? Perfect, I smiled. That's exactly what we needed to hear. Later that afternoon, I visited the Henderson Group's main office, playing the role of devoted wife bringing Wade his forgotten laptop. The security guard knew me, barely glancing up as I passed. In the elevator, I heard 2 junior executives whispering. They're selling off assets. Heard Bradley's drinking in his office. Stocks in freefall. The doors opened to chaos. People hurried through corridors, clutching papers and speaking in urgent whispers. I spotted Taya arguing with her father near the conference room. Daddy, you promised that money was for my new charity foundation. Not now, Princess, David snapped. We have bigger problems. I walked past them, remembering all the times they'd mocked my simple understanding of business. Now their empire was collapsing, and they had no idea their salvation would be their undoing. In Wade's office, I found him staring out the window, phone pressed to his ear. Yes, sir, I understand. We'll have those numbers for you tomorrow. He hung up, jumping when he noticed me. Virginia, what are you doing here? You forgot your laptop. I held up the bag. Everything okay? He ran a hand through his hair. Just business stuff. Nothing for you to worry about. Of course not, I smiled, setting down the laptop. As I turned to leave, I paused. Oh, by the way, I cancelled the lake house maintenance service to help with expenses. The relief on his face was almost painful to watch. Thanks, honey. That helps. Back in my car, I called Esther, my grandmother's former lawyer. How soon can we move on the shares? The shell companies are ready, she replied. Just say when. I watched through the window as Bradley stormed across the parking lot, loosening his tie and pulling out a flask. Start buying tomorrow. Small amounts, different companies. Let's not spook them yet. Just like your grandmother would have done, Esther chuckled. She'd be proud. I started my car. thinking of all the times they'd dismissed me, belittled me, treated me like an ornament. They wanted a trophy wife, I murmured. Instead, they got me. The pieces were falling into place. Soon, very soon, they'd learn exactly who they'd been dealing with all along. Sign here and here. Esther pointed to the marked lines on the thick stack of documents. Each shell company needs separate authorization. I worked through the papers methodically, my pen scratching across page after page. Outside my grandmother's old office, now mine, Boston's financial district sparkled in the morning sun. Nova Holdings, Starlight Ventures, Aurora Capital. Kaya read off the company names. Nobody would guess they're all you. That's the point, I replied, signing the final document. How many shares so far? 28%. She checked her tablet. And climbing. They're practically giving them away. My phone buzzed. Gianna. Bradley's meeting with potential investors right now, she whispered. But they're walking out. All of them. Perfect timing. I smiled. Is everything ready for the next phase? The documents are on his desk. He's so desperate he'll sign anything that looks like salvation. I ended the call as Esther spread out a new set of papers. These are for your grandmother's old business partners. They're eager to help. Apparently, they never liked the Hendersons much. Nobody who actually knows them does, I muttered, remembering countless social events where the family's true nature showed through their polished veneer. The intercom buzzed. Ms. Carter from Henderson Group is here, my assistant announced. Gianna entered, clutching a folder and looking nervous. Bradley signed everything. He didn't even read the fine print. Of course not, I took the folder. Men like Bradley think they're above details. There's more, Gianna said, glancing at her phone. They're planning some kind of announcement event, a gala for the new mystery investor. Kaya laughed. They're throwing you a party and don't even know it. Wade called earlier, I said, checking my messages. They're all panicking. Vera's organising the event herself. Apparently, it needs to be perfect to impress their saviour. If they only knew, Esther smiled, gathering the signed documents. Your grandmother would have loved this. A text from Wade lit up my phone. Big news. Company saved. Mystery investor bought controlling stake. Celebration gala next Friday. Wear something nice. Wear something nice, I read aloud, my voice dripping with irony. As if I'd wear anything else to my own coronation. Kaya peered over my shoulder at another incoming message. This one from Vera. Virginia, dear. Please let me help you choose an appropriate dress for the gala. We can't have you embarrassing the family in front of our saviour. Should I tell her I already have the perfect outfit? I smirked. I've been saving it for a special occasion. The red Valentino, Kaya asked. The very one. Nothing says, I own you now quite like a power suit in victory red. Gianna's phone chimed urgently. Bradley's calling an all-staff meeting. He's going to announce the gala. Go, I nodded. Keep me posted. After she left, Esther finished processing the paperwork. With these signatures, you now control 53% of Henderson Group. Completely legal, completely binding. And completely invisible until I choose to reveal it, I added, standing to pour champagne. To Karma. To Karma, they echoed, raising their glasses. My phone buzzed again. Bradley this time. Virginia, make yourself useful and help Mother with the gala planning. Try not to mess it up. Should I remind him that in 1 week he'll be calling me boss? I showed the message to Kaya. Patience, she counselled. You've waited 6 years. What's 1 more week? I walked to the window, watching the Henderson Group building in the distance. Through my binoculars, I could see Bradley pacing in his office, phone to his ear, gesturing wildly. Look at them scramble, I murmured. All that pride, all that arrogance, and they never saw it coming? Your grandmother always said the best revenge is the one they never suspect, Esther remarked, joining me at the window. My phone lit up with a group text from Vera to the family. Emergency dinner tonight. Must discuss gala details. Virginia, do try to contribute something useful. Oh, I'll contribute something, I smiled, typing my reply. Looking forward to it. I have so many ideas to share. Kaya snorted. Ideas like, surprise, I own your company now. Something like that. I gathered my things, preparing to head home. 1 last week of playing the dutiful wife. one last week of their condescension. And then? Esther asked, though she knew the answer. I paused at the door, thinking of every slight, every dismissive comment, every time they treated me like a decorative object rather than a person. And then I showed them exactly who they've been underestimating all these years. The elevator doors closed on their smiling faces, and I descended toward the lobby, ready for one final performance as the meek, passive Virginia they thought they knew. In 7 days, that woman would cease to exist, replaced by someone they should have feared all along. "For heaven's sake, Virginia, you can't wear that to the gala," Vera's voice echoed through the boutique. "It's far too bold." I stood before the mirror in my chosen red Valentino suit while Taya and Vera circled like vultures, picking apart my selection. "She's right," Taya sneered. "You should wear something more appropriate for your position." "And what position is that?" I asked mildly, smoothing the perfectly tailored lapels. "Well, you know," Vera waved her hand dismissively. "You're Wade's wife, not a businesswoman. If they only knew how many businesses I already owned through my various holdings. What would you suggest?" "This lovely navy dress." Vera held up something that looked like it belonged at a funeral. "Much more suitable for someone of your background." I checked my phone as they continued their fashion critique. A message from Gianna. "Bradley just tried accessing the company's emergency funds. They're gone." "I think I'll stick with the suit," I said, turning to face them. "Red is my power colour." Taya nearly choked. "Power colour, please? The only power you have is your husband's name." I smiled, remembering the stack of ownership documents sitting in my safe. "We'll see." Back home, I was sorting through old photos when I found it. Me at 19, standing beside grandmother in front of her company headquarters. Her words echoed in my memory. "True power is when they never see you coming." "What's that?" Wade's voice startled me. He peered over my shoulder at the photo. "Just an old picture with my grandmother," I said, quickly sliding it away. "The one who left you that trust fund you never talk about?" He loosened his tie, looking exhausted. "Listen, about the gala." "Yes?" "The investor. They're very private. They've requested to remain anonymous until the announcement." "How mysterious," I maintained a neutral expression. "Any hints about who it might be?" "None," he sighed, collapsing onto the couch. "But they own everything now, the whole company. Father's beside himself." My phone buzzed. "Kaya, all shares are under your name now. You own it." "I'm sure everything will work out exactly as it should," I said, pocketing my phone. "Mother wants you to be on your best behaviour at the gala," Wade continued. "No embarrassing stories or inappropriate comments." "When have I ever embarrassed you?" I asked quietly. He had the grace to look uncomfortable. "You know what I mean. This investor is saving our family. We need to make a good impression." "Trust me," I smiled. "They'll be impressed." Later that evening, I sat in my office, drafting my speech for the gala. The words flowed easily. 6 years of pent-up thoughts finally finding their voice. My phone rang. Vera again. "Virginia, dear, about the gala seating. I think it's best if you sit at the family table, but perhaps toward the end. We want to keep the important seats for the investor and their team." "Of course," I replied smoothly. "Whatever you think is best. And please reconsider that red suit. It's so aggressive." "I'll think about it," I lied, ending the call. Another text from Kaya. "Final preparations complete. No loose ends. You ready for this?" I looked at my reflection in the window, seeing not the meek daughter-in-law they'd tried to shape, but my grandmother's heir. Strong, calculated, unstoppable. "More than ready," I typed back. Wade came home late, smelling of whiskey. "Had a drink with Bradley," he mumbled. "He's terrified about this investor. Says they could fire everyone." "Could they?" I asked innocently. "They own 53%. They can do whatever they want." He looked at me blearily. "What are you working on?" I closed my laptop on the speech draft. "Just some writing. Nothing important." "You should get some rest," he said. "Big day Friday. Mother's counting on you to help with the final arrangements." "I wouldn't miss it for the world," I replied, watching him stumble toward our bedroom. Once he was gone, I reopened my laptop and finished the speech. 6 years of playing the perfect passive wife had taught me patience. Now it was time for action. My phone lit up one last time. Esther. Your grandmother's portrait has been delivered to my office, ready to hang in the Henderson Group boardroom when you give the word. I smiled, imagining their faces when they realized who'd been pulling the strings all along. Perfect, I replied. Everything's falling into place. I read through my speech one final time, each word a carefully crafted blade. Friday couldn't come soon enough. The Hendersons wanted a gala to celebrate their salvation. I'd give them a night they'd never forget. The day before the gala, I stood in front of my closet, running my fingers over the red Valentino suit. Tomorrow, everything would change. The thought should have terrified me, but instead, I felt oddly calm. Virginia? Wade's voice interrupted my thoughts. We need to talk. I turned to find him standing in the doorway, looking more disheveled than I'd ever seen him. His usual perfectly pressed shirt was wrinkled, his hair a mess. What's wrong? I asked, though I knew exactly what was eating at him. I can't sleep. Can't eat. He paced the room. This investor. They own everything now. Everything my family built. Sometimes change is necessary, I offered quietly. He whirled on me. How would you know? You've never built anything. You don't understand what it's like to feel this powerless. Oh, the irony. I bit back a smile. Don't I? What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, I said, turning back to the closet. Just that I might understand more than you think. God, he ran his hands through his hair. Mother was right. You've never understood our world. The pressures, the expectations. The arrogance, I suggested mildly. The condescension. See? This is exactly why they think you're beneath us. He stopped, realizing what he'd said. The room went silent. 6 years of pretense cracked, just slightly. Beneath you? My voice was soft, dangerous. Is that what they think? I didn't mean, he backpedaled. It's just, you never tried to fit in. Never tried to be what my family needed. And what exactly did your family need, Wade? Someone who understood our position, our responsibilities. Instead, you just exist, like some trophy wife who can't even dress appropriately for a business dinner. I walked to my desk, pulled out my speech for tomorrow. Not everything you think is small actually is. What's that supposed to mean? He grabbed the papers from my hand. What's this? I snatched them back before he could read them. Tomorrow's another day, Wade. Get some sleep. Virginia, his voice cracked. I feel like I'm drowning. The company, this investor, I feel like such a failure. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. You're not a failure, Wade, I said carefully. You're just not as in control as you thought you were. My phone buzzed. Kaya. Final checks complete. Boardroom portrait hung. Security briefed. Tomorrow's going to be epic. I should go, Wade muttered. Bradley wants to review the investor introduction one more time. After he left, I called Kaya. He's breaking down. Having second thoughts? She asked. I thought about 6 years of dinners, of snide comments, of being treated like an ornament. No, they made their choice long ago. Tomorrow I make mine. Your grandmother would be proud, she said. Speaking of which, you should see her portrait in the boardroom. It's perfect, hiding in plain sight until tomorrow's reveal. I smiled, remembering how they'd never bothered to ask about my family, my background. Too busy assuming I came from nothing to realize I came from everything. The doorbell rang. A delivery. Inside the package was a small box from Esther. The note read, Your grandmother wore these the day she took over her first company. Now it's your turn. Inside were a pair of elegant pearl earrings. I put them on, studying my reflection. The woman in the mirror looked nothing like the meek daughter-in-law the Hendersons thought they knew. My phone rang again. Vera. Virginia, dear, please tell me you're not still planning to wear that horrible red suit tomorrow. Actually, I smiled, I am. But, trust me, Vera, tomorrow it'll all make perfect sense. I hung up before she could respond, and returned to my speech. Each word was carefully chosen, each revelation perfectly timed. Tomorrow, they'd learn exactly who they'd been dealing with all these years. One last text came through. Gianna. Bradley's drinking in his office again. Keeps talking about how this mystery investor will save everything. If he only knew. I replied with a simple, smiling emoji, then set my phone aside. The red suit hung ready. The pearls gleamed at my ears, and my speech waited on the desk. Everything was in place. In less than 24 hours, the Hendersons would learn that their salvation and their downfall were one and the same. They'd discover that the woman they'd dismissed for 6 years had been watching, waiting, and planning all along. I picked up my speech one last time, reading the opening line. For 6 years, you've told me who I am. Now, let me tell you who I've always been. Tomorrow couldn't come soon enough. The Henderson Group's grand ballroom sparkled with false promises and desperate hope. Champagne flowed freely as investors, board members, and social climbers mingled, all eager to meet the mysterious savior of Boston's failing dynasty. "Virginia!" Vera's voice cut through the crowd. "I see you wore that suit after all." I did. I smoothed the red Valentino's lapels. Special occasion, after all. "At least try to be presentable when the investor arrives," she hissed, "and stay toward the back during photographs." Across the room, Bradley was holding court, clearly drunk. "Our new partner understands real business. They'll take us to the next level." "Any idea who it is?" someone asked. "Very private individual," he slurred. "But they know talent when they see it." I caught Kaya's eye from across the room. She nodded slightly. Everything was in place. "There you are." Wade appeared beside me, tugging at his collar. "Mother wants us all positioned properly for the announcement." "Of course she does," I murmured, watching Taya arrange herself prominently near the podium. The MC tapped his microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, please." The room hushed. David stepped forward, beaming with false confidence. "Tonight marks a new chapter in our company's history. We're honored to introduce our new majority shareholder." I began moving toward the stage. "Virginia?" Wade whispered. "Where are you going?" "Someone who represents the future of business." Vera grabbed my arm. "Well, what do you think you're doing?" "Please welcome." I gently removed her hand and continued walking. "Our new CEO." Bradley's glass slipped from his fingers as I climbed the steps to the podium. The silence was deafening. "Good evening," I said into the microphone, my voice steady. For years I was silent. Tonight, I speak not as Mrs. Henderson, but as your new CEO. The room erupted in whispers. Cameras flashed. Vera's face went pale. "What is this?" David stepped forward. "Some kind of joke?" "Check your phones," I smiled. The press release just went out. Hundreds of phones chimed simultaneously. The murmuring grew louder. "This is impossible." Bradley stumbled forward. "You're nothing. You're nobody." "Actually," I pulled out a folder. "I own 53% of Henderson Group shares. Through various holdings you were too arrogant to investigate properly." Taya's voice rose shrilly. "She can't do this. Daddy, stop her." "It's already done," I continued, my voice carrying across the stunned crowd. "The papers were signed weeks ago. By you, Bradley. Remember those emergency funding documents you didn't bother to read?" Wade pushed through the crowd. "Virginia, what are you talking about?" "Perhaps we should discuss my grandmother." I gestured to the wall where her portrait now hung. "The same grandmother whose business empire you never bothered to ask about, too busy assuming I was beneath you to realize I was above you all along." "Security!" Vera screamed. "Remove her!" "They work for me now," I smiled. "Everyone does." The cameras kept flashing as I outlined the restructuring plans. Bradley's firing, David's forced retirement, the complete overhaul of the board. "You can't do this," David sputtered. "We're family." "Family?" I laughed softly. "Was I family when you mocked me at every dinner, when you dismissed every suggestion I made, when you treated me like decoration?" The crowd was riveted. Journalists scribbled frantically. 6 years, I continued. 6 years of watching you run this company into the ground while treating me like an ignorant trophy wife. Well, surprise. The trophy just bought the whole display case. Wade pushed forward. "Virginia, please. We can talk about this." "Now you want to talk?" I met his eyes. 6 years of silence, and now you want to talk. Vera collapsed into a chair, fanning herself dramatically. This will destroy us. No, I corrected her. This will save the company. From you. From your arrogance. From your outdated ways of thinking. I gestured to Kaya, who began distributing press packets. The Henderson Group is now under new management, I announced. Those who wish to stay will adapt. Those who don't, I looked pointedly at Bradley, will leave. You'll regret this, Bradley slurred, lunging for the podium. Security stepped forward, blocking his path. I think, I said quietly into the microphone, that the only regret here is how long I waited to do this. The room had transformed. Where once they'd looked down on me, now they looked up, literally and figuratively. The power shift was palpable. I straightened my red suit, grandmother's pearls gleaming at my ears. Now, shall we discuss the future of our company? The emphasis on our made Vera flinch. Cameras flashed again, capturing the moment perfectly. The family in disarray, the crowd enthralled, and me, finally, gloriously me, standing exactly where I belonged. At the top. Let's talk about competence, I continued from the podium, my voice cutting through the chaos. Bradley, would you like to explain the Morgan acquisition, the one you botched so spectacularly? Bradley lunged forward again, face red with rage and alcohol. You little... Or perhaps, I cut him off, we should discuss the offshore accounts, the creative accounting, the tax evasion attempts. The room went deadly quiet. David's face turned ashen. That's right, I smiled. I know everything, every shortcut, every cover-up, every desperate attempt to hide your failures. You're lying, Vera stood up, trembling. You have no proof. I nodded to Kaya, who started the presentation. Financial records, emails, and transaction histories appeared on the giant screen behind me. 6 years of documentation, I explained. Every illegal decision, every ethical breach, all meticulously catalogued. Wade pushed through the crowd. Virginia, stop this! Think about what you're doing to the family. Family? I laughed. Let's talk about family, Wade. Let's talk about how your family treated me, how you stood by silently while they tore me down day after day. The journalists were frantically taking notes. Cameras clicked continuously. But this isn't about revenge, I continued. This is about survival. Your mismanagement nearly destroyed this company. Your arrogance almost bankrupted hundreds of employees. Bradley tried to interrupt, but security held him back. As of tonight, Bradley is terminated. David will retire. The board will be restructured. I paused, letting each announcement land like a hammer blow. Those who remain will answer to me. You can't do this, Tyre shrieked. We'll fight you. With what? I asked calmly. Your shares, your influence, your money. Check your accounts. Everything's frozen pending investigation. The crowd murmured as phones came out, people checking their banking apps. This is illegal, David shouted. Our lawyers will... Your lawyers work for me now? I cut him off. In fact, they're the ones who helped structure this takeover. Legally, properly. Everything you failed to do. Vera collapsed again, this time for real. A waiter rushed to help her. Ambition didn't save you, I addressed the family directly. But intelligence just might. Those willing to adapt can stay, under my leadership. Those who aren't? I gestured to the door. Bradley stormed out, shoving people aside. Tyre followed, mascara streaming down her face. Now, I turned to the assembled crowd. Let's discuss the future. Real leadership, real innovation, real... Ms. Virginia! Gianna pushed through the crowd, face pale. There's something you need to see. She handed me a tablet, hands shaking. My eyes widened at the numbers on the screen. What is it? Kaya whispered, joining us. Another layer, I muttered. Hidden accounts. Tax fraud on a scale we didn't catch. David's expression changed from defeat to something like triumph. Not so perfect after all, are you? I straightened my spine, mind racing. This could sink everything. The company, the takeover, my revenge. Ladies and gentlemen, I addressed the room, please enjoy the refreshments. We'll reconvene shortly. Security began ushering people toward the reception area. I grabbed Kaya and Gianna, pulling them into a side room. How bad? Kaya asked. Bradley's been running a parallel fraud scheme, Gianna explained. Millions hidden in offshore accounts. If the IRS finds out, They will, I said grimly. David's smirking because he thinks this will force us to keep them in power, to hide their crimes. What are you going to do? Kaya asked. I looked at my grandmother's portrait on the wall, remembering her words. Power isn't about having all the answers. It's about finding them. Get me the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit, I ordered. And our tax attorneys. We're not hiding this. We're exposing it. But the company, Gianna started. We'll survive, I cut her off. Because we'll be the ones who uncovered the fraud. We'll be the solution, not the problem. My phone buzzed. Wade. We need to talk. Now. Watch them, I told Kaya. Don't let anyone leave. This isn't over. I stepped back into the ballroom, where Wade waited alone. You've destroyed everything, he said quietly. No, I replied. Your family did that long ago. I'm just cleaning up the mess. I loved you, he whispered. No, I said again. You loved the idea of me, the quiet, submissive wife who never questioned, never challenged. That person never existed. He turned to leave, then paused. You'll regret this. I watched him go, then turned to face the crowd waiting beyond the doors. Time to finish what I'd started? The night wasn't over yet, and neither was I. Sign here, my lawyer pushed the final divorce papers across the desk. And it's done. I signed my name with the same pen I'd used to take control of the company. Poetic justice. The tax fraud investigation is proceeding as planned, Kaya reported, watching Wade's lawyer hurry out with the papers. Bradley's facing serious charges. David and Vera have fled to their house in the Bahamas. Let them run, I said, standing to look out over the city. The Henderson Group building, now Henderson Carter Enterprises, gleamed in the morning sun. The FBI will find them. My phone buzzed. Gianna. Taya's giving an interview outside. You might want to see this. I switched on the office TV. There was Taya, perfectly coiffed, despite everything, spinning her version of events. Of course I'm still consulting for the company, she was saying. Virginia and I have always been close. She values my input. Consulting? Kaya snorted. She hasn't been allowed in the building since the gala. Let her pretend, I smiled. It's what they do best. My assistant buzzed in. The board is ready for you. The boardroom fell silent as I entered. New faces mixed with old, all watching me carefully. My grandmother's portrait hung behind my chair, a reminder of where I came from and where I was going. The SEC investigation revealed more than just Bradley's fraud, I began. It exposed a culture of corruption that ends today. Murmurs rippled through the room. Our stock has stabilized, I continued. Client confidence is returning. The media has moved from scandal to recovery stories. And the Henderson family? Someone asked. Are welcome to watch our success from a distance, I replied coolly. Now, about the Asian expansion? The meeting proceeded smoothly. This was my element, not playing housewife, but running an empire, just as grandmother taught me. Later, walking through the office, I overheard snippets of conversation. Profits up 30%. New clients signing. Best quarter in 5 years. My phone buzzed again. Wade, please, we can still fix this. Come home. I deleted the message without responding. Home wasn't a place where you had to pretend to be less than you are. Outside my office, I found Vera waiting. Security let you up? I asked, unsurprised. I'm still a Henderson? She said stiffly. Not here, you're not. I moved to pass her. We made you. She grabbed my arm. Everything you have. Everything I have, I cut her off. I earned. While you were mocking me, I was learning. While you were judging me, I was planning. While you thought I was nothing, I became everything. You'll fail, she spat. Without us, you'll crash and burn. I smiled, thinking of the company's soaring stock price. Actually, we're doing better than ever. Funny how removing dead weight helps with that. She flinched. Security will show you out, I said, pressing the call button. Don't come back. As she was led away, Kaya appeared with more papers. The rebranding is complete. New logos, new letterhead, new era. Perfect timing, I said, watching Vera's retreat. How's the family taking it? Bradley's lawyers are negotiating a plea deal. Taya's husband left her. Wade? She hesitated. is no longer our concern, I finished. My office felt different now. No more hiding my intelligence, no more dampening my ambition, no more pretending to be less to make others feel more. "Miss Carter?" my assistant called. "Your next appointment is here." "Send them in," I replied, straightening my red blazer. My signature look now. A young woman entered, clutching a resume. I recognized that look. Hungry, ambitious, underestimated. "Tell me," I said, gesturing for her to sit. "What do you know about power?" She straightened, eyes bright. "That it's not about who you are, but who they think you're not." I smiled. Grandmother would have liked her. My phone lit up one last time. Gianna. Bradley just got arrested. It's all over the news. I turned to the window, watching my reflection overlap with the city skyline. The meek daughter-in-law was gone, replaced by someone they should have seen all along. "You know what the best revenge is?" I asked the young woman. "What?" "Success," I replied, sitting behind my desk. "Now, let's talk about your future." Outside, I could see Vera giving another interview, probably claiming some kind of involvement in the company's success. Let her talk. I had work to do. Revenge looks good on me, but power, that's permanent. And I was just getting started.